Your fascia is the connective tissue of your body. This connective tissue isn't just connective tissue, it has its own level of consciousness. Fascia has its own consciousness. Your body, physical body, may still hold distorted patterns that don't serve you. The fascia is a protector of the physical body. It's picking up how safe you are or are not. So when you go to the chiropractor, oh, I feel better. Oh, thank you. And then all of a sudden, hours later, the next day, whatever, your body goes right back. Fast forward to New Earth, where we have practitioners working together, learning what oneness means. What we would do to the fascia first, we would infuse the fascia with frequencies of oneness. When we infuse the fascia and we communicate with the fascia on an energetic, telepathic level of oneness, we actually change the level of consciousness of that fascia to open itself up to receive a new pattern, an adjustment. The fascia accepts that that's a healthy, wonderful new pattern, and then the fascia can be told, hold that pattern. Ellie moved through a really powerful healing just a couple of days ago where I really infused frequencies into her fascia. We're going to be showing some of those clips in this podcast episode. Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode. Hello, beautiful souls and amazing beings. Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast. I'm Rachel Fiori, and I have our Thursday podcaster hosts with us today for MSU and our certified mystical coaches of oneness, Ellie Lee and Danny Morley. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Wow.
Excited to be here.
Excited to be here. So we have a fun topic. We're going to dive in to why fascia is the key for your body to feel safe enough to heal and talk about what that is. We just did an in-person healing session that we filmed. We're going to be showing some of those clips in this podcast episode. So if you are audio only and listeners only, I strongly encourage you to watch this on YouTube, where you can actually see a little bit of what we're going to be diving into, because Ellie moved through a really powerful healing just a couple of days ago where I really infused frequencies into her fascia. So let's just talk very quickly before we dive into that. Your fascia is the connective tissue of your body. So let's understand what this is very quickly. It's the connective tissue of your body, the way of connection, connective tissue. What we need to understand as we evolve as humans, also as practitioners, anybody in the healthcare, holistic health field, whether you're a chiropractor, a massage therapist, myofascial release expert, like you've trained specifically to work on fascia and fascia release. It's important to understand that anybody who is evolving and healing emotionally, that if you have patterns in your body that are stuck, rigid, you have scoliosis, kyphosis, your hips are out of alignment, you go to the chiropractor, you feel really super tight, that kind of thing. If you know that your physical body is struggling a little bit and you need some healing there, and you currently are getting it, or you know you need to get it, fascia is your key to physically healing on so many levels. And here's why. This connective tissue isn't just connective tissue, it has its own level of consciousness. Fascia has its own consciousness. So I want you to understand this before we dive in and have Ellie share her experience on Saturday. So you can be, even fully healed, no more wounds left, um, enlightened, and your body, physical body, may still hold distorted patterns that don't serve you. They harm you, they hurt you, they cause physical pain, they cause your spine to go crooked, things like this. And the reason for that is because the fascia of your body literally has its own consciousness. The fascia is a protector of the physical body. So I want you to imagine all of that beautiful connective tissue in the body. um it actually functions with its consciousness. It sends out like light, like tentacles, to outside of your physical body in order to receive and detect and pick up information in your physical surroundings around your body. So you know how you just get a sense that there is a danger somewhere? You suddenly feel like, I don't feel safe here. That is partially because your fascia is sending out its light receptors, its tentacle receptors. I say tentacles. I don't mean it like a creepy way, but literally like the light tentacles. It sends out these receptors to translate the fields around you. It's picking up how safe you are or are not. Okay. That's part of what the fascia does. It has a consciousness to protect the body. And that means, if you've had trauma, you experienced abuse, you ever felt extremely unsafe, and then you were in a car, like a car wreck, the fascia's job is like it braces for what's happening. If you have been physically, sexually abused, even psychologically, emotionally, verbally abused, if you grew up with abuse, think about that. You tense up, you flinch, you turn your body away from the abuse coming at you, whether it's physical or just verbal. Do you understand? So, like, the fascia's response is contraction, tensing up, turning away from. Okay. It clenches the body. So, one more simple example before we go further. If you know somebody's going to punch you in the stomach, for example, if I'm going to punch you in the stomach right now, what would you do? Stand all relaxed and receive the punch? No, it would hurt more. It would do more damage. What you would do is, oh, you'd clench all your muscles. Everything would tighten up and clench. That's the fascia communicating to your body, brace for the punch. Put your arms up, protect yourself. That's why in homicide and different things, like you see, oh, there are defense wounds. What does that mean? Think about it. You're not just going to lay there and be stabbed or beaten or whatever's happening to you. Defensive wounds. Well, you were trying to defend and protect yourself physically. The fascia's consciousness is connected to all of that. If you understand that part, here's what we often, in our old earth way of doing things, we go to practitioners for help. Fascia release experts and massage therapists and chiropractors, etc. We go to these amazing, wonderful practitioners, and then our body like resists change. It takes a year or 3 or 5 or however long for the body to like accept the adjustment and etc. There, you have to understand the fascia. When you come from force and adjust somebody and put them in the right alignment over time, what the fascia does is, oh, you're forcing me to go in a direction where this pattern, this position is what helped me to be safe from that attack, whatever that attack was. It's just verbal energy coming at you. It's still violent, aggressive, abusive, whatever. The fascia clenches up and tightens and twists away from it. You're now in a twisted pattern. Why? To get away from your attacker, so to speak. Okay. So that, if you really understand that, your fascia then holds you in that protective, quote unquote, what it determines is a safe posture pattern. So when you go to the chiropractor, oh, I feel better. Oh, thank you. And then all of a sudden, hours later, the next day, whatever, your body goes right back because your fascia is like, screw all you. This is the safe pattern. That's why it takes so long to quote unquote heal, or it seems like impossible, or 3 years of the chiropractor and your, progress is very slow. You're forcing the fascia to come out of its safety, what it determines is a safety pattern. Okay. Now, with all that education, fast forward to New Earth, where we have practitioners working together, learning what oneness means. What we would do to the fascia first, we would infuse the fascia with frequencies of oneness. When we infuse the fascia and we communicate with the fascia on an energetic, telepathic level of oneness, of the way of harmlessness and gentleness, the way of unconditional love, etc., we actually change the level of consciousness of that fascia to open itself up to receive a new pattern, an adjustment, or fascia release work. And then we accept it. The fascia accepts that that's a healthy, wonderful new pattern. And then the fascia can be told, hold that pattern. You will see remarkable results if you work with the fascia first from a place of oneness, enlightened consciousness versus just getting your adjustment 1, 2, 3 times a week for however long. So, with that education, I'm going to open it up. Ellie, do you want to share your experience on Saturday, what we did?
Yeah, so the entire experience was I was laying on a chiropractic table and it was Rachel and we had our chiropractor that we work with there. And the moment that well, before we even started, you were like, I'm just going to tap in. And immediately you were just drawn to my whole intestines and my gut area. And when we started, I immediately knew that I was safe. I was like, oh, I'm in a very safe place. Like wherever we're going to go, I was completely in this place of surrender and just knowing that whatever path we went on, I was going to be okay, which allowed me to just be so open and allowed me to just move where we needed to go. And you had started me off with saying, "Well, what's something emotional that you've been working through this week?" And as soon as you said that, I had been working through really alchemizing this wound and these programs I have around feeling like I'm worthless, like I'm nothing, like I'm trash, like I'm garbage. So as I get triggered into this when I see someone that's more talented than me, that's smarter than me, that's more powerful than me, whatever it is, I immediately go into this. I'm nothing. I'm garbage. I'm trash. And so we started moving into that. And there was this one thing you said where you said all this judgment that you get, you're always being judged, you're always being criticized. And as soon as you said that, is all the emotions started coming up because all week I had been feeling my mom come up for me. And I've done a lot of work around healing everything that I've gone through with my mom. But I was observing myself that entire week. I was like, why is all this mom stuff coming up? And I was just watching it. And as soon as you said, you're always being judged, you're always being criticized, I was like, oh, this is it. This is where we're gonna go. And all I've ever felt from my mom was a lack of safety, as just whether it's verbal, physical, psychological, spiritual, emotional. There was a lot of abuse that came my way. And I knew that, oh, this is all this stuff. This is all I'm going to protect myself. I got to cringe. And all I remember is just literally like in a coward state a lot in her presence because I didn't know what was coming. And so as you were moving me through that, and the way of harmlessness and gentleness was the way that we really that was being infused, and that I was really speaking to myself. And as you were doing what you were doing, all I kept feeling was, it's okay, it's safe now, like we're okay. And you kept telling me like, hold this pattern. And as I was saying it to my fascia, I knew that everything, it was like it felt like a new beginning. This is the way of being, and everything that we've ever been, like it's that's okay for it to not hold anymore. This is a new way of being. And then every time you would direct the chiropractor to come in and do the adjustment, and I was sharing this with all of you, like the adjustments were so loud. And every time she would have me on my side, or you would, direct her, okay, now adjust her, a new wave of emotions that I had to move through would come up. And you would constantly be like, Ellie, you're doing beautiful. Like, let it fully come up, let it fully move through. And it was just all of this trapped grief and fear and all that. I could just feel myself alchemizing it. And I could just feel myself becoming the way of harmlessness and gentleness as all of this was coming through and coming up. But it was incredible to see, wow, how much was still in there. And also with each adjustment, a new wave of whatever needed to be alchemized had to come up. But the way that I was seamlessly moving through it, it was because of what you had been teaching us to do for all of these years. I knew how to move through it. I knew what I had to become in that moment, and there was no resistance. It was like there was no space to resist anything. It was like, this is it, and now just do it. And even the chiropractor, the whole time she was crying with me because she's incredibly empathic. But I also want to touch upon, there was so much sacred touch that was happening. So anytime, Rachel, you had your hands on me and she had her hands on me, the way that I would cry about that too was, this is what it actually means to be touched without harm being caused. Like, feel what this feels like. And the frequencies that I could feel from all of, with all of your hands, were complete selflessness, like the way of selfless service. There was no agenda attached to any of it. It was just, we are here to serve you, we are here to help you. And all I felt was unconditional love, which then allowed me to open up even more. And I could cry by talking about it now because I just didn't receive, I don't have any memories of my mom like holding me through anything. And after the whole session was over, I had this one memory, and I'll talk about this really straight up now because I think it's important for me to share about this in a powerful way, speaking about it. I had a very traumatic abortion when I was 19. And this memory came up for me after we had moved through this session. That, and again, I want to come from this place of, I've moved through a lot of understanding my mother and the programs that she runs, and I know why she couldn't show up in the way this in the affectionate ways that she could. Like, she didn't receive it, and so she couldn't give it to me. But I when I was pregnant at 19, this is okay. Okay. When I was pregnant at 19, I went through a lot of internal turmoil because it was a secret. And the moment that I was brave enough to, I had to share it with somebody. I shared it with my mom. My mom didn't hold me once. There was not even like a hand on my shoulder of being like, I got you. You're okay. You're going to be okay. I was actually met with a lot of shame. And this memory came up for me as I was processing after the healing, because I was like, oh, there was never touch. There was never a moment of, you're okay, I got you, you're safe. And so when I was experiencing this with you and our chiropractor, and also because you two are women, it was this, it was something that I had never experienced before coming from anybody, period. But it was because it was coming from both of you, and you were showing up in the way of selfless service with just, we are here to help you. It allowed me to access a whole different kind of healing that I can't explain to somebody unless they experience what it actually feels like to have sacred touch. And this is what you taught us in quantum energetics as well, the power of sacred touch, and the power of, as you are the divine power that heals yourself, then you bring in these practitioners that are the way of selfless service, what that does on a whole different level. And so when the healing was over, I sat up in a way where, I keep joking about this, but I felt like a straight up number 2 pencil. Like, I felt myself in a posture that I had never felt, and I felt like there was a straight line that was going through every single chakra in my body, and I was like, "Whoa." All I kept saying was, "I feel so straight." I cannot explain to you how, I was complete alignment. I've never felt in complete and utter alignment. And then I felt like I was on drugs because the amount of energy that I was feeling, that I was sensing, that I was even seeing through my third eye, I was like, this is the wildest experience. And being in the, I mean, I've had healings from you before, but they've been online. And being with you in person was a whole different beast in itself. And so it was just monumental and insane and incredible.
I feel like this entire area is like completely different. Like it's almost like there I feel so much like flow here, and it felt like this whole area was like distorted, and now I just feel complete alignment. I just feel very, like, freedom keeps coming in.
Beautiful.
I feel like, I can't explain it. I just feel like I'm completely straight. Like, what I feel right now is like I've been living my whole life in just complete, like, distortion, like, in just complete fear. And, like, right now I just feel like I'm just upright. Like I'm just, like, seated in my power.
And just to give a little more context, how long have you worked with this chiropractor for?
Oh my God. And so I have been working with this chiropractor for, yeah, over 6 months. And one of the things that was so incredible afterwards is she is very gifted, and she was like, "I know your body, Ellie." She's like, "I can close my eyes and I just know everything that's going on." And she's like, "You've been in resistance to me every time I adjust you." And she's like, "This was the first." I mean, you should have seen her. She was like, "What just happened?" Because she was like, all I felt from you was openness and ease and just do what you need to do. And there was no resistance. And that was like eye opening for me too, because it allowed me to see what she's experiencing as because I'm having my own experience. And I'm sure, Rachel's doing what she's doing. And yeah, that was nuts too.
And just so, you know, when I was working with the ways of oneness and I was doing the energetic activations and communicating with Ellie, aspects of Ellie, her body, her fascia, etc. I was doing what I do. Okay. And then I'm like, okay, Dr. Hannah, like now adjust. And then there might be a pause. Okay, hold on. Because I'm reading the fascia, I'm reading the body saying like, oh, wait, we might need to go into protective like resistance. I'm reading that in real time to say, okay, pause. And then I do my work. I do my energetic work. I go in, I talk to the fascia, I infuse the ways of oneness. And then when when they are receptive to it and like, okay, they become without even activating a way of presence, they become the way of presence, which part of the universal ways of oneness, the way of presence. The way of presence is to be the detached observer and also the receiver. Okay. So when that fascia moved into receiving mode and from me and the frequencies I was using, then, okay, chiropractor, adjust. And that's how we did it, working together in oneness. She and I working together in oneness on Ellie and Ellie's every aspect of what Ellie is, including her physical body. So that's the process, just so you know. And in the future, this is more of what healthcare is going to look like. Practitioners, people are going to work together in a very intimate way to give the person, the body, etc., the traumas, what they need in order to actually heal holistically. That means the whole person. The whole person means the whole being. That's what holistic means, which means the multidimensional you at the soul level, right? At the soul level, at the mental level, emotional level, and physical level. If we're only focusing on one part of us, that's not holistic healing or holistic health. So that's the beauty of it. It was like we invited this chiropractor. She's amazing. We invited her in, like, let's work in holistic health for real. And she just moved with me and followed the guidance of like, okay, now adjust, pause, wait, let me do more work, let me do work while you're adjusting. And it was just, it was beautiful.
And I remember this one moment in the whole experience, and I remember you being down at Ellie's feet. And I think maybe Dr. Hannah was kind of working maybe on her upper body. So I would love to just know, like, what is happening with you, Rachel, as you're being guided around, different parts of Ellie's body, and when you're at her feet, because I just remember seeing this one memory of you crouched down, she's laid on the table, and you're crouched down by her feet. Like, what is happening within you? What are you seeing, and what are you experiencing with Ellie in that moment?
So in general, I follow to where I see the fascia and her body like blocked or in resistance or in what I can translate energetically as a protective mode, a defensive mode. I have to keep myself safe, contracted, and that means it's going to resist a healing, right? So when I went specifically, I went into her feet, I was just like, oh, she's opening up now, meaning physically, her physical body is accepting the adjustments in a very different way. We opened up channels because of that. Now that those channels are opened up, including where the nerves are being able to send signals to the rest of her body, I could see all the channels opening up, as she was getting aligned, and I could see the fascia receiving me. So when I went to the feet, it was, oh, there are open channels now, more in alignment. Let me infuse energy from the bottom of her feet all the way up, through her meridian system, through the nerves and the way the nerves function to give signals to the brain. Like I was flowing energy, the ways of oneness, through her feet to follow the channels that were now open, because now that they're open, I didn't want them to shut back down and go into protective mode. Like, oh, we don't do this. What's this? Go back into protective mode, safety mode, like default safety mode. So I was infusing the energy to open, hold, stay open. This is safety, not the old pattern. This new pattern, this openness, this is safety. That's basically what I was doing by infusing the frequencies of oneness through there. So that's what I was doing, because her whole channel, like her channels were opening up.
And there was one point where you came up to the top of my head too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I was following where oneness frequencies, the ways of oneness needed to be infused into that now opening channel in order to connect all of the channels of the physical body energetically, the chakra system, like all of that needed to be infused and connected as the way of connection with the universal ways of oneness. These are enlightened frequencies. They're miracle frequencies when you know how to honor them and work with them as a being of oneness consciousness yourself. So we work together in oneness, and wherever energy needs to go in, wherever there needs to be a physical adjustment, and that would have included doing actual like fascia release techniques if we needed to do that. For example, we didn't need to do that on this particular healing, but just so that all the listeners understand, if there needed to then be like fascia work in any specific part of Ellie's body, we would then infuse and do the fascia work because her fascia was open enough to receive the releasing and the relaxing and becoming more flexible and fluid as the way of surrender. Like the consciousness of these enlightened frequencies are literally teaching the consciousness of the fascia and inviting the fascia to ascend, go through the ascension process, and join with us, these frequencies in oneness together. So in a holistic way, we can heal and elevate and be whole once again, the way we're meant to be whole. That includes physically. So all of that is going on, while Dr. Hannah's doing her thing and while I'm reading the energies of the body and the physical parts of the body that need to be opened and loved and supported. And they need to go through the energetic and physical experience of what, compassion is, or harmlessness and gentleness, sacred touch. You can create miracles with sacred touch. And it isn't just, oh, I'm here to help you, let me put my hands on you. That's sacred touch. That's not what it is. That's why we teach it. That's why I teach it in the classes and the coursework at Masters of Self University. These aren't just concepts, everybody. They're not just words. It is a state of being. And when we can become that state of being and then offer this to someone else, healings and the way we adjust and elevate, and it all is on a whole another dimension. So, we'll show you some clips of it so you can try at least to see and visually witness it yourself to some degree.
I mean, I just never knew when it was coming.
Yep.
Like just this constant, like, I'm always on guard. Like I don't know when she's gonna flip. I don't know when she's gonna criticize me or like go off on me or abuse me in some way.
Good job. Good job. Good release, Ellie. Good job. There you go. Let it out. You're doing a beautiful job. for 1 minute. Good job. There you go. Good job. Good job, Ellie. Good job. Beautiful job. Your body's shifting into that. This is the safety pattern, not the old pattern.
And Rachel, this is so interesting to me that the fascia is ascending.
Yeah.
And my question to you too is because I've been a student of yours for, a while now, and because I'm in classes and I'm learning how to become the divine power that heals, right, myself. I what I felt during that whole healing too was like, now it's time to, this is the moment to put into everything that she's taught me, right? And so if a person came in to actually get a physical healing from you, right?
Mhm.
They have to also be someone that is elevating and doing the work on themselves. Like, and how does that pertain to how much the fascia would be open to ascending and elevating in regards to how much the actual being is doing it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. So it depends. There is a variable to that. None of it's cookie cutter. So let's start here. Old Earth never taught us true education. Education is absolutely priceless because you know how to elevate, heal, grow, expand, that's education. That's what education offers to us. It isn't a bunch of intellectual fucking facts that we regurgitate and we sound smart. Like that's just the old earth of indoctrination and bullshit. And quite frankly, everybody's stupid and dumb and blind when they come from that level of education. It's not real education. It's brainwashing tactics. True education means we just grow up learning that we are magical, multidimensional beings. And because of that, we would have learned when we learn about our human bodies that we have temporarily here just in this incarnation. How it works actually works, not as an object, not as, separate organs and like to objectify the body and not see the body as sacred. Our medical system and healthcare system, et cetera, that is done by design that you do not see your body as sacred. It's an extension of your divinity. And we do not treat our own bodies or anybody else's bodies as sacred. We don't know what the fuck it means, so we don't do it because we're brainwashed to not do it. We're brainwashed to objectify and dehumanize and lust after and all that. So if we start with, let's educate people on what's going on inside of your body. You don't have to work in the healthcare field or a healing field at all. Doesn't have to be your purpose ever. Doesn't matter. That's fine. But you still need to understand to some degree how your body actually functions and why it's stuck holding patterns the way that it's stuck holding patterns. What's trapped in there? Why is it doing that? If we have just a basic level of education in that, like real education in that, then what happens is people in the general public can go get the health care that they actually need that actually really benefits them. And they stop wasting their time going to goddamn Western medicine physicians that are going to pump you full of pills and not know what the hell's wrong with you, never treating the root cause of anything, only masking symptoms so that you're trapped in the sick care system. Now, let's get real here. So it isn't black and white to say that somebody who isn't working on themselves in this way can't heal at all if they come to a retreat or a session or something like that. They can and they will. Now, to what degree, that's not for me to decide. It's understanding through true education why I don't care what your mind thinks, why your body would be resistant to receiving that healing. And there's many, many, many reasons for that. Your highest level of healing permanently needs to come from somebody who, and will be received and achieved by somebody who is actually working on themselves, learning this stuff, growing and becoming. Of course, that goes without saying. I don't want anybody to hear that and think you'll get nothing out of, sessions with people that do this kind of thing together, or a retreat where we offer this, which we will be offering in the future, by the way, in case you wanted to know. We will be offering these kinds of things because once you understand the education piece of this and you start to educate yourselves, your body, you're like, okay, I get it. I understand that I hold certain patterns. I'm ready. I'm ready to receive what I need to receive energetically to change that, to transform the energy and the physical body like the fascia. So there's varying results for people who are just like, I'm going to show up, fix me. Yeah, you don't even understand why you're holding those patterns. So unlikely that you're going to see permanent results with someone like that. Unlikely. It doesn't mean it's impossible, but it is unlikely. But just what I want people to hear in that is understanding why you don't even identify and acknowledge your own restrictive, resistant patterns, your refusal to heal. Just because you're like, no, but I want to heal. It's why I'm here. It does not mean that your body and parts of your body are on a whole different level. Your wounding inside of your body that's trapped in your body, they don't want to heal. They resist it. That's the education, right? Which is again like Masters of Self University. That's what we teach in our coursework. So that you understand it, you can actually permanently heal when you're educated enough and you're not dumb and blind and just look to some savior like you out there, just heal me. That's lazy, that's passive, that's entitlement, that's irresponsible, that's showing up like a child. A divine being shows up even in all of their wounding and says, I'm willing to do whatever it takes on my part. Teach me, guide me. I'll do it. And you follow through, right? You follow through.
Yeah, as someone who has had a journey with my own physical body and then starting doing this work like nearly 4 years ago now, and then as whenever I drop in now, I can feel, and what I feel like it is my fascia like unwinding, and I can feel um every time that I drop in and processing energy, I can feel my body like physically opening up. Things like it feels like everything's like been fused together, and I'm the way that I understood it is all of the years that I was training hard in the gym and trying to get bigger and stronger, like I was just imprinting more resistance into there, more force of
Yeah.
trying to be a certain way. And not knowing that that's what I was kind of coding into my body. Like I've really experienced that, and I'm stoked to have one of these sessions in the future for sure. But then, like I've spent nearly 3 years almost every day with Ellie, seeing her physical body. And when you sat up from that session, whether it was like 40 minutes or however long that was, I have never seen you sit so straight. And it was just that thing of like, yeah, you can work on, and I've been watching you come back from the chiropractor. I'm always checking, like, how do you feel after your adjustment? You're like, yeah, I feel good. I feel good. But seeing you sit up and your spine was just so erect, it was like, as you said, like a number two pencil. It was that, yeah, it's like you can do all of the physical work, but if you don't include a level of energetics, you're going to be limited. And then the same thing of like, if you're just doing the energetic work and you still need normally, like just like Ellie's been doing this work energetically for nearly 4 years now, but obviously alchemizing different layers, but to be able to go in and combine the physical and the energetic, it just unlocks like true magic. And then you could feel it in the room. Like I was on the camera, I had no idea what was happening in terms of like my visual reality, but I was feeling all bunch of stuff that was happening. It was so beautiful and powerful. And you could tell just you working together with somebody who was manipulating the physical body for healing. It just felt like pure magic was it unfolding.
And I mean, this is metaphysics to our listeners. Like, this is metaphysics. And it's, you know, to only focus on one aspect of quote unquote healing isn't healing. we need to create a holistic approach. And what does it mean to have a holistic approach? Even though everybody says it out there, especially in Western medicine, they like to use that term because it's catchy, and then people will go to them as patients. Like, it doesn't mean it's actually holistic. That's the lack of true education versus indoctrination to get you trapped in the sick care system, right? So, and just because somebody is a chiropractor does not mean they're holistic. Doesn't mean they're evolving themselves. That doesn't mean anything. Just the title. Somebody's a healer doesn't really mean they're evolving and raising their level of consciousness and have this level of education. Just the titles don't mean anything, unfortunately. So one of the things I've been searching for, and the chiropractor that we go to, when I first discovered her, she's very empathic. I'm like, oh, she's a different chiropractor, because she, of course, is going to be trained in Western medicine and the way that she went through schooling, but she's very open and she's deeply empathic. I was like, I found her. I found one where she was very open to like understanding and learning things on an energetic level in a different way. She was very open. And because of that, it was very easy to then bring her skills, her level of education, her expertise as the chiropractor. I don't pretend to be would never do that. But I can read the body and the energy of the body in a very different way. And she was very willing to like follow my lead and then add her skills and expertise when I'm like, okay, now adjust, okay, pause. That oneness of practitioners, of people working together, that is the future of healthcare. I hate to even call it healthcare. That is the future, though, of healing. That's the future. Us combining and working together on every level that a person needs to truly experience what wholeness is, what the epitome of health is, as the way of purity. And I mean, that's the magic of it. So we'll show you some clips in here in this podcast so you can witness some of it for yourself. Beautiful. You're doing great. Beautiful. There you go. Good job, Ellie. Good job. Stay there. I'm going to feel me on your stomach. You're doing a beautiful job. And I want you to start to talk to your body, tell your fascia, hold this new pattern. This is the pattern of safety. And then I am the way of harmlessness and gentleness, just in your mind. Go ahead and place your hands right over your heart chakra for me. Good job. I'm going to put my hand on top.
And Rachel, I said to you, I wish that we could see what you're seeing as it's happening. But can you give us a visual on, so when you would come in and you would do what you were doing and then you would have her come in and adjust, what did it actually look like? What was the fascia really? Because you were even describing like these tentacles that go out and like drinking the ways of oneness, like these enlightened frequencies. Like, could you go a little deeper into that?
Yeah. So one of the things that I mentioned earlier, the fascia has these like light, like these tentacles, these sensors, these receptors. They send out, and they're scanning their environment, the physical environment around the physical body, and they're trying to sense danger, kind of thing. So when they sense somebody coming in, like a chiropractor who has the best intentions in the whole world, they're there to try to heal you and help you. That's not how the fascia interprets things in its consciousness. it interprets, oh, you forced me to move, but this is my safety protective pattern. So that's why, again, the fascia is like, hey, whatever, you forced me, I'm going to pull you right back out. Whether it takes minutes, hours, days, doesn't matter. So what I'm seeing when I started to communicate with the fascia itself, I started to communicate. It's like people who can communicate psychically, like when you communicate with an animal, when you communicate, it's a psychic telepathic communication. So I could see those light, sensors, tentacles when I was communicating with them. At one point, I went to the top of Ellie's head while Dr. Hannah was working on her. And all of those light tentacles literally turned to face me where I was and physically started to reach up towards me. I was infusing ways of oneness into Ellie's crown chakra. And when I was doing that, all of those sensors turned to me where I was, reached up, and it was like they were drinking in the frequencies. They were just taking them in and absorbing the frequencies. And I was just infusing ways of oneness. And I can read, because I work with the ways of oneness. I can read what way or ways of oneness that they want or need in that moment to help them shift, heal, and adjust and transform and ascend. And that's what they were doing. They were like, this is what we've been missing. And they started drinking in the frequencies, like you would pick up something and start drinking. They were drinking in the frequencies. They were drinking in the light. And then everything in her body just started to shift and change, and her spine. I mean, it was just remarkable to see what was happening inside the body as everything was adjusting to and adapting to these new frequencies. It was like power, and it was like strength, like physical strength. Like the spine now had the strength to like be erect and straight and upright, so to speak. It was just unbelievable. And I mean, that's what I was like seeing. And then I was reacting to and adjusting what I needed to do based on what the fascia needed from me.
Yeah, I felt this. All I kept feeling was like, oh, I have the power to be completely something different than what I know. That's what I kept feeling the whole time, of like, all of this, you don't need to be that. You can be this.
Yeah.
And it was this other layer of, oh, this is how powerful we are. And this is what we actually really are. We just have been this other thing for so long.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you were
And
sharing, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and then the transformation, the fascia itself raises its level of consciousness. It takes on a different level of consciousness.
Wow.
This is what I'm to be. I'm reaching my potential. I'm elevating my level of consciousness as fascia because it has its own consciousness. So now it's functioning as harmlessness and gentleness, what that frequency actually means at an enlightened level. And now that fascia is like, oh, I don't need this protective response, quote unquote, this pattern hold. This is what it means to be harmlessness and gentleness. It takes on a complete transformation. The fascia itself, it's like a dragonfly, or a butterfly that goes through, the transformational phase to become a dragonfly that now flies free, to become a butterfly that now flies. That's what it achieved. I'm now a butterfly. I'm now a dragonfly. The fascia is like, oh, I'm now harmlessness and gentleness. I'm now an enlightened definition of the way of connection as connective tissue. That's an old third world definition of what I thought I had to function as. I physically transformed. There's a new enlightened frequency, how I function as the way of connection, as fascia in a physical body. I mean, it's wild. And you can see it transform and go through the phases of transformation right in front of you. When you can psychically see it, it's like, there it is. It's transforming. There it is. Oh, there it is. It's blossoming. There it's taking on what the frequency of the way of harmlessness and gentleness is, for example. And it starts to function and flow as that frequency, as the fascia.
Mind blowing. That's awesome. It's so cool. And obviously there's a lot of different fascia work out there. I've seen a lot of people really, teaching about fascia, but nothing on this level, nothing where they're really understanding that fascia has its own consciousness. I mean, that makes so much sense. That it, it's aware of its own self. It has its own kind of job
Yeah.
to do, to connect all the different body parts within us together, right?
Yes.
Because that helps us work, in harmony, in unison, to be able to flow. And if there's a blockage there, then that's obviously what then could create tightness of physical then injury when we go out into the world.
Yes.
And that's how these traumas that we experience, then we then create them in our life because of this holding pattern.
Yes.
Because of that holding pattern, you
Yes.
then go out to play a sport, or you go out to go for a run, or you do this thing, or you are getting older and you trip and you go to fall, and because your holding pattern isn't of stability, your hip goes, and then now
Yes.
you're in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. Not saying this is always the case, right? I'm just throwing some examples out. And this
Yeah.
is how these traumas, then we then create them in our life physically.
Exactly. And then let's say that we, trip and fall and get hurt, or we get in a little like car accident and we get hurt or something like that. The fascia is like, oh my gosh, ugh, oh my gosh, if I was in this contracted protective state, I wouldn't have been hurt. It's like it takes that pattern and it then holds that pattern. So, in true actual healing, if it's truly actually holistic healing, just because you were in a car accident, for example, or got hurt or fell off a curb, slipped and fell on ice or whatever, accidents happen. If that happens and we're physically injured, what is the pattern of the body while it is injured, while it is in pain? Energetic frequencies and energetic work, along with whatever else the physical body needs to go through. In the future, if we actually had holistic health practices, we would be doing energetic work along with whatever the body needed to physically heal in the meantime, right? We always say the body is, intelligent, the body knows how to heal, but we don't understand what that actually means. The level of consciousness of the fascia, for example, will interpret things that happened to the body in the way it interprets it. When we are people that come from older, so duality, severance consciousness, we do not function in oneness with our own physical bodies. We don't even know what it means. This is part of evolving and raising our level of consciousness for real. If we are in oneness with our physical bodies, even when we have an accident, an injury of some kind, you have to understand that most likely that pattern, that injured pattern, the fascia is going to now take on a new pattern and hold. Oh, if I would have been here, I wouldn't have gotten hurt. That's how the fascia functions, right? So we need to communicate as the body is physically healing on certain levels. We need to add that energetic piece, communicating from enlightened frequencies with the consciousness that is in charge of quote unquote healing your physical body, and not just disconnecting from our physical body, like, it'll heal. How dismissive. So that goes back to our programming, our wounds. Well, what parent dismissed you and didn't give a shit how you felt? We are dismissive to parts of our body because again, indoctrination versus true education. We're dismissive to our body parts. When our body is going through a healing phase, an accident happens, or we're hurt or we're injured, we're dismissive to it because we don't want to feel the pain and just get over, heal already. Oh, I'll push through it. That's how we're taught. We're taught to be abusive to our own bodies versus the way of unconditional love, the way of compassion. We don't even think of our tissues of, wow, you're really injured. That was traumatic. What do you need from me to ascend and heal through this? And we haven't learned that. So, we can learn it if people are willing, but to relate to our bodies in a very different way, at least we can start with practitioners working together. understanding that if we show up for healings like this, that we can, this is the type of healings we should be getting for our bodies versus relying on Western medicine. And quite frankly, pretty much most kind of medicine across the world, if it comes from patriarchal system, that's not true healing, you know. So we just have to elevate ourselves and be willing to and receive the education and understand why we're doing what we're doing, and if you're open to that, then you're open to learning how to create miracles for yourself.
And after the whole session, you were telling me that, this is keep talking to your fascia, like it hold this pattern. You're
Yes.
safe to hold this pattern.
Yes.
And you were talking about even when you get triggered into something can you talk a little bit more of that? Because obviously I've been triggered since that session, and I've been working with the fascia and be like, all right, let's detach from this, alchemize this, and then you're safe to hold the pattern that, with
Yes.
harmlessness and gentleness. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's evolving into it's the willingness to become a being of oneness consciousness and what that actually means. That means I'm willing to communicate with my fascia. Oh, I got triggered into something. Now I don't want the fascia to go default mode back to old patterns because I'm the one disconnected and not living in oneness. Living in oneness is living in oneness. So I will often, what Ellie's describing for our listeners is like, I will give homework to people when I work with them one-on-one, or I have healing sessions, whatever. If you don't do your homework, I mean, what the fuck do you want from me? It doesn't matter how much I give to you. You're not even willing to give anything to yourself. That's what the homework is for. It's for you to slowly become a being of oneness consciousness. In this example, what that looks like is, so I'm triggered in something emotionally. Okay, I don't want my fascia to go into default mode back to old distortive patterns and start to pull my physical body. Now my physical body is going to be harmed. I'm going to be pain again. My pelvis is going to be out. My spine is going to be curved again. So because of that, it's, I'm triggered, fascia. Hey, together, let's activate harmlessness and gentleness. Hold the new pattern, fascia. Commanding the energy, commanding your reality. You learn this in different levels at Masters of Self University in our classes, what it means to command your reality into existence. You can't come from separation and severance consciousness and command the fascia to do what you tell it to do. That's domination. That's patriarchy. That's I'm superior. That's not what we learn. Energetically, we become oneness consciousness beings. Fascia. It's okay that this trigger just happened. It's okay that I just felt unsafe for a minute. That new pattern is the pattern of safety. Continue to hold it. Let's alchemize this emotion that I just experienced of fear or sadness or whatever. Let's alchemize it together, fascia. Feel me, the power of my divinity, as I alchemize this. And your job in oneness is to continue to hold the pattern that went into my body, into you on Saturday. That's how we start talking to our body in the way of honoring, in oneness, in the way of harmony. So that's what we're learning how to do.
Right. And that's all happening on an energetic level. It's not just an affirmation that comes from the mind. It's not just something you hear and then you're like, oh, let me just say this over and over again until I feel it. Right. Yep. You're in complete denial of what's really there, like what actually needs to be addressed. But obviously, Ellie knows this work and, has been learning from you for a long time. So, she's able to really receive what it is that you're guiding her through.
Yeah.
And Rachel, you were sharing, because we had a meeting before this, but you're like, oh, I can see right now your fascia. So if you could give us a sneak peek into what it's like now after we did that whole thing.
Yeah. As I scan you, like it's first of all, it's completely different. It's not in this. So I mentioned earlier that I see the sensors, like the receptors, the tentacles, the light tentacles that go out to receive, like they were all like darkened and gray. Like there wasn't a bright light. Let me put it that way, just so you can visually kind of understand it. All dark and gray in there. not a lot of light flowing through, like disconnection. And that disconnection is sometimes because our spine is out and the nerves are affected and the signals aren't going through. There's a lot of reason why I might see it as like dark or grayed out kind of. But now the majority, when I go along your spine and along the fascia, when I scan your body on an energetic level, like almost all parts are lit up and like alert. And they're just, it's like there's tubing of, the frequencies of oneness wrapped around the fascia. Like they feel so protected, not just I have to be the protector, but I'm hurt myself. It's different. So like it's very alert, it's very healthy. The lights are bright on those sensory like receptors that I call the tentacles. It's completely different. It's completely different.
And how do you feel, Elle, after, it's been a couple days since the healing?
I feel more powerful. That's been coming through a lot. And also, this is a question that I have for you, Rachel, too. How important now is when somebody moves through an immense healing like this, fasting and things like that? Because that's just something that I've been reflecting on too, is like now that the fascia is ascending, what's the importance of how do we take care of our physical vessel after something like this?
Yeah. So part of why this is just one of many reasons. Part of why things like our fascia hold old patterns, dysfunctional, unhealthy, distorted patterns in our physical body versus easily being able to just flow with the adjustment of a chiropractor or flow with the therapist doing, fascial release work, for example, is because our bodies are filled with toxins. We're filled with parasites, heavy metals. Oh my gosh. We are filled with toxins because it's all part of the plan and the design of making us sick and weak, and it disconnects us from our soul and all that stuff. If you understand that, again, real education, this is for educational purposes only, but actual real education, not indoctrinative bullshit, right? So if we understand how to be in oneness as beings of oneness consciousness, that means being in oneness with our bodies. That means the way of purity, the way of harmony, the way of unconditional love, right? The way of harmlessness and gentleness, which means eliminating the toxins so that my multi-dimensional, magical, metaphysical body that is part of my bigger eternal existence that is here to function for me on my behalf in this physical incarnation temporarily, that I can work in oneness with all of that, every aspect of me. And that means if I actually love myself, I'm willing to detox. I'm willing to do the parasite cleanses and the heavy metal detoxes. And that includes learning how to fast my body for optimal physical functioning and not continuing to eat and stuff it full of forcing my body on overdrive, always digesting and trying to eliminate toxins, which it can't. It's the buildup, buildup, buildup. And then the body just starts to malfunction. And the consciousness, let this sink in, the consciousness of us as humans, one of the reasons why we're poisoned and have the parasites and the toxins and the chemicals and the glyphosate and the blah, 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 is literally so that our level of consciousness stays dumbed down, dimmed. You cannot be a high level of consciousness and be filled with poison and be filled with dead flesh that you're eating and be filled with glyphosate and cancer causing. You cannot be filled with chemicals and poisons and toxins and actually reach enlightenment and have a high level of consciousness. You can't. It's not even possible. Anybody telling you otherwise, listen, fuck them. They're here to take you on the path so that you'll never elevate. Sorry, that's the fucking truth. I'm not going to be cute about that. And I'm not going to be, silent about that. And I'm not going to be gentle about that because that's the fucking truth. Be very weary of anybody like, it doesn't matter what you eat. Yes, it fucking does. Be careful. That's a red flag of somebody who doesn't want you to elevate. Okay. So get rid of the toxins, learn about fasting and why that is critical for your physical health and why it's also critical then for you to raise consciousness levels elevate to higher frequencies. You can't put shit in your body and maintain a high frequency. It's not possible. Everything is frequency. What you put into your body and you consume is frequency. It is frequency. Energy drinks, chemicals, poisoned food, frequency. So if it's a low, crappy frequency, your body cannot elevate and heal. And by the way, say one last thing about that. You could have the most miraculous healing in the whole world by the most amazing person of oneness. And if you then turn around and put all this shit in your body, you're destroying the healing. And then you'll blame the goddamn healer instead of yourself. Like, it's time for us to grow up and elevate and educate ourselves for real instead of acting like immature, reckless, irresponsible, entitled toddlers. You heal me. And if I'm not healed, it's a reflection of you, the healer. Meanwhile, you're unwilling to even learn what it means to fast and why, and to change your diet and why, and to stop consuming energy drink and protein. It's amino acids you need, by the fucking way, not goddamn protein from dead flesh. But, I digress. We have to educate ourselves for real. If we're unwilling, there's no judgment. But stop expecting to fucking heal. And stop blaming other people for your lack of ability to heal when you're literally refusing to heal because you're not becoming the first way of oneness, the way of responsibility. Like, okay, let me do my part as the way of purity, the way of responsibility, and eliminate the toxins. Let me get the heavy metals out of my system. Let me get the parasites out of my system. If you're unwilling, how dare you expect to have some miraculous, like, how dare you? Like, the audacity.
Yeah, I had this experience the other day at work where I was feeling like so good and so clear. And then I had they had this little thing of little things of like candy out. I was like, wow, I haven't had like a little like sweet like that. And I put one of them in my mouth, and within a few minutes, I could feel the clarity that I was experiencing, and it was like there was like a deep sense of like inner joy that was flowing through. As soon as I put that in my body, it cut off, and my awareness, like everything dropped down. It wasn't like I went depressed or anything like that. But I could just feel everything became like fuzzy and hazy. And I could literally feel by just putting something like that in my body, as soon as it went in, the level of consciousness that I was at completely dropped.
Yep.
And this is what is happening to us all day, every day with everything that we consume.
Yes.
It's obviously it's all done by design so that, we, as you said, we stay very low as humans in our level of consciousness.
Absolutely. And just to add to that, so people understand, well, I don't feel anything when I eat that, because you're fucking low.
Yeah.
Your frequency matches. Well, I don't feel that when I eat dead flesh, meat eater, carnivore. Meh. I don't feel that. Of course you don't feel it. You're at that level. When your frequency is at that low level, you're not going to feel a difference when you put other frequencies in your body that are at that low, shitty level to keep you low and dumbed down. Hello, that's the point. The higher you get in your vibrational frequency, you put one little thing that is low and toxic and not good for you, your body, you immediately sense, because you're so high now, you're so highly elevated now, clear and pure, and you're becoming whole. You immediately sense, oh my gosh, I'm dipping from that one little goddamn thing. I'm dipping. And you feel and experience the dulling down, the dimming of your light. You now have a contrasted experience in it. So the higher in elevation you go, that's when you have the contrast. People who are like, oh, I eat this and it doesn't even matter, because you're fucking low frequency. It's a match. There's no judgment in that. Like, learn about energy, y'all. Learn energetics for real. It's why I push it in our core curriculum, is learning energetics at higher and higher levels in our core curriculum at Master Yourself University. That's why it's a core curriculum. Otherwise, honestly, we're stupid. Because if we're stupid and we can't critically think, then we don't embrace the actual truth, and we never elevate and heal for real. That, again, done by design. You're brainwashed. That's the conditioning. It's never a judgment. But it's time to wake up to the actual truth of all of this and become the way of responsibility. Say, enough's enough. I am tired of being a slave. I'm tired of being sick, tired of being low level consciousness. What do I need to do to elevate? Let's go. Because it's here. It's here for you. It's here for everybody, right? It's just, are you willing to do it for yourself? And that's up to you. And it's okay if you're not, but it's up to you.
Yeah, this whole thing has been really showing me when you are becoming a being of oneness, when all you've ever been is filled and attached to frequencies of separation, right? You wouldn't be harmlessness and gentleness with yourself. You wouldn't show yourself
No.
unconditional. If you show yourself what's in there,
Yeah.
right? And now it's like, even after that healing, I mean, my body is like, even more, don't put that in, don't eat that. And like the pain of it too is like a double time now. It's like the moment I put something in, it's like, but you're not listening. But I can hear the guidance more and more.
Yes.
Yeah. And so now it's like, because I am becoming the way of harmlessness and gentleness, why would I put anything that is not gentle and harmful into it?
There you go.
Yeah.
And right there, those people, you right there, and anybody else listening, willing to become that right there, you cannot be a slave anymore of our world, of our cult leader, sociopathic, parasitic elites of the world. You cannot be their slave anymore when that's the level that you get to, because it's impossible to enslave you when you're like, oh, but I'm not going to do that. And it isn't I'm going to force it. David Goggins, force. No, that's not where we're coming from. Elevate for real. And then it's like, wait a minute, I can feel myself dimming down, just like Danny shared as well, from that one little thing. And we're putting all this shit constantly. But that one little freaking candy. And Danny noticed, holy crap, I'm lowering from that one freaking piece, which seems like it's nothing, no big deal. And then you realize, because you're becoming the way of wisdom, holy shit, how big of a deal that is, what it is actually doing to toxify my body and bring my consciousness low. That's the way of wisdom. So when you get to that level, guess what? No one can enslave you anymore. That's sovereignty. That's freedom. And that's why we teach what we teach at Masters of Self University.
Mic drop on that. I'm eternally grateful for our session, Rachel. I know you can feel everything that comes from me when I say that, and I cry about it, but thank you for changing my life in so many ways, and for teaching me how to become these ways so that I can become what you're teaching us to become, because this is the way that I want to be, and this is how I want to live. And it allows me to see I've been imprisoning myself for so long. And now that I get to become a being of oneness, I just feel freedom on an everyday basis. So I'm so grateful and thankful. And I'm so excited for our physical retreats in the future, y'all.
Yes, me too. Me too. When
It's
you're
gonna be
ready
next
for
level.
those retreats, drop it. Drop it in those comments. I mean it, because we'll get our asses in gear and do them faster than what we than what we plan on right now. Let us know you want them. We'll put them together.
Yeah, beautiful. Everybody at home, our next semester starts August 26th. Sign up for a free student enrollment meeting at mastersofselfuniversity.com to learn more about how to enroll as a student. And thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Danny. And until next time, we'll see you guys then. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Wow, I feel crazy.
I missed that part.